Are you looking to grow your dental practice and attract top-tier new patients? Discover the potential of digital marketing with a personalized strategy session. Join Lila Stone, the marketing director at Equa, for an exclusive 90-minute consultation. Lila and her team will dedicate 6 hours before your meeting to create a customized marketing plan specifically for your practice. This valuable opportunity is free of charge and comes with no commitments. Visit www.insuranceuntangledorg/MSM to schedule your meeting with Lila today. You'll also receive a free analysis report so you can start transforming your practice through the power of digital marketing.
You are now listening to another episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast, where we explore the various challenges faced by dental practices due to their reliance on insurance. Join us in this podcast as we dive deep into the issues surrounding dental insurance dependence and offer practical solutions and strategies to help you take control of your practice's financial future.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Insurance Untangled podcast. My name is Ben Tuine, and I'm one of your co-hosts. Well, I'm one of the hosts that's for this podcast dedicated to helping doctors that are tangled up with insurance. So today we have my dear friend and guest, Naren, with us. Naren, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
Doing wonderful. Totally looking forward to this. So this is sort of a combined topic where we're going to be talking about just a tiny bit about the world of PPO and marketing in terms of the marketing expense of a PPO, right? So this is sort of something, Naren, this is actually a really fun topic. This is sort of something that I've always had questions about. The whole question is that is being in network with a PPO plan, does that constitute a marketing effort? And if so, what is your marketing expense as a result of being in network? Now, to sort of preface that question, a lot of times you hear doctors say, well, when I don't pay money to be in network with a PPO plan, right? I don't pay any money to be in network. So why are you saying I'm paying a marketing fee? So that's sort of what we want to talk about, is this whole area of when you go in network, there is an expense that we have to consider, right? So I'll let Naren kind of explain that in terms of PPO in network. How is that marketing, and what is the marketing expense of being in network? Can you address that, Naren?
Yeah, 100%. So, let's talk about taxes, right? There are, people who have their own businesses, self-employed, and then they work for others. When you work for others, the government takes your taxes right off your paycheck. You don't do anything. Like, you make $1,000, government gets, let's say, $250, you get $750. Your employer does all that for you and sends the money to the government, right? You don't feel it. So as far as you're concerned, you made $750, but in reality, you made $1,000, right? You worked enough hours to make $1,000, but without you even seeing it, the government took it off, right? PPO is kind of the same thing. You do $1,000 worth of dentistry. Remember, PPO sends you the balance of what's owed to you versus not the amount of dentistry you did. You did $1,000 worth of dentistry, but they control you in two ways. One, they control how much you can charge because of your fee guide, which they have to approve, right? They are the masters. So even though your usual and customary fees might be $1,200, they might only approve $900, for example, right? And they make it so tricky where they reject the whole list, or so you really can't pick and choose and negotiate with them, fee by fee. So anyway, so they control you that way. And as you also know, most people, are still charging fees they charged 7 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So the challenge again there is your costs go up. I mean, just in the last 4 years, expenses have gone up 40 to 50%. Like, for example, wages and many things have gone up significantly, right? So they're controlling your fees by approving what you can and cannot charge your patients. Second, they don't pay you the full fee that they even agreed to. They'll only pay a part of it because, they're like, well, because we are doing this bulk thing for you, you have to give us a discount. If you don't like it, too bad. It is the way it is, right? So when we did the math, we noticed doctors are giving up 40 to 50% of what they produce, meaning the dentistry they do, in the form of these kind of fee controls and fee reductions versus the UCR, usual and customary fees. So let's think about it. What's the only thing the insurance company is doing for you? They're sending you a new patient. That's all it is. But now for the life of that patient, let's say the patient stays with you for 10 years, every single treatment and every single time the patient comes to you, you have to give this insurance company invisible fee, just like that employee who's paying taxes on every hour that he works, but he never sees that tax money because it goes, he thinks it doesn't exist, but it does exist. So I think that's the reason why a lot of people don't think about this as a marketing expense. And the funny story is, a lot of people think their employees cost the most. No, it's the PPO adjustments cost the most. Like $1 million, if you're collecting $1 million and you are a PPO dependent practice, you are giving the insurance companies in these fee adjustments $500,000. I mean, think about it. Your employees don't cost you $500,000. So what is your largest line item expense? It's PPO adjustments. And like I said, because the only thing they do is send you new patients, I think it's completely all right to think of it as a marketing expense.
Oh yeah. $1 million in production, $400,000 in adjustments / write-offs, right?
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to me that even though, in the PPO world, the write-offs and adjustments are huge. So what, in your opinion, why do you think practices are still signing up with PPO plans?
Yeah, I really think it comes down to us as individuals and people, right? Who goes to dental school? It's not the slacker in the class. It's the busy bee. That's the one who's going to extra classes, doing every homework, showing up to class on time. It's the one that works the hardest. So we take that habit we have cultivated, let's say for 20 years from the time we joined kindergarten, working hard, studying hard, being busy. And we want to be busy right after we graduate. And how to get busy? Sign up to a PPO plan. They'll send you an infinity amount of new patients. But if you're giving up half of what you make or 40% of what you make in the form of a write-off, the question then is it worth it? In other words, is there enough left over to make it worth it? In some states like California, like for hygiene wages, you can't even pay your hygiene wages. Forget about, leave alone all the other expenses you have. Just from the amount of money that the PPO plans are willing to give you, right? So it's the question that people need to ask, which they don't, unfortunately, is being busy more important than being profitable? What's the point of being busy and losing money? What's the point of working twice as hard and making half as less money versus somebody else works half as much and makes double the money? Like I literally have doctors who work 24 hours a week and take home $800,000 in profit, and they're only producing 1.6 million in revenue. So that's a great life, right? 24 hours. So you are only working 3 days a week and you're making 800 grand in profit. I mean, that's the question you have to start asking. Do you want to work really, really hard and make the insurance companies rich? Or do you want to work smart and keep all your money and, use that money to invest in yourself, your team, and obviously, in the future, like technology and education and so forth?
Absolutely. Kind of makes sense to me that that's a superior direction. Fortunately, that's where the industry is heading. It's so great it's so wonderful to see so many practices starting to dump dental plans with the realization that, hey, these insurance companies are not really working for us. $400,000 a year in write-offs. Holy smokes. You put that into marketing and other things, big time game changer in terms of profitability and stress level, So most practices get large number of new patients from PPO plans, when they are in network. In this day and age, when doctors are still in network and their colleagues are going out of network, the common complaint that I hear, Naren, is that I'm getting overwhelmed with patients from a certain dental plan, right? And I just can't do it anymore because the write-offs are too big. What do I do? So what are the long-term consequences when all of your patients are coming in and have a PPO plan that's associated with a massive write-off? What do you do? Like, what are the consequences there, Naren?
Yeah, I like to give you guys a homework and ladies a homework. Go watch the movie Shawshank Redemption. And I've seen it like 5 times. It's one of my, I don't know why, I just fell in love with that movie. is the underdog, and at least in the movie, he's the good guy. He didn't do anything wrong. Anyways, I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but there's the concept called being institutionalized. And they tell that story with the help of this old man who was in the prison for like 50 years, and he was important man in that prison. And then finally he gets released. By the time he's released, like 70 plus years old, and he goes outside to the real world, and he couldn't survive. There's no purpose for him. There's no meaning to his life, and he hangs himself in that tiny apartment, that he was renting, working as a, he was the bag man. He was like, putting groceries into a bag, and he just kills himself. And when that news comes to the prison, some of the people talk about this concept of being institutionalized. Once you get so sucked into one way of doing things, you don't think there's any other better way. You just keep doing the same thing. I mean, that's why sometimes you see even like extreme poverty, or even families who are infested in gang violence, goes on generation after generation after generation. If your parents or your brother or others are into drugs, the chances of you getting into drugs is very high. Same thing with being in jail, right? It just keeps going generation up, because those kids or those new people don't know any other way of doing it. So imagine a team that's infested with PPO plans. Every year the PPO cuts a little bit more. Your expenses keep going up because of inflation, but PPO doesn't pay you more every year. They just keep paying you the same amount they paid you 7 years ago, but now somehow you have to make due with what you were getting paid 7 years ago, but your expenses up 30%. What do? You work harder. You get so used to catering to that clientele who are asking, is it covered by insurance? Is it covered by insurance? You're not doing high value cases. You're doing tooth dentistry. Fix this, fix that. You don't have any energy to even like get up in the morning and go to work, because that's not the kind of dentistry you wanted to do when you went to school. You wanted to change lives. You wanted to create beautiful smiles. You wanted to make a difference. So you kind of lose all your excitement and hope, and you're working twice as hard, because otherwise your numbers won't add up. You have to do double the dentistry to make the numbers work. So people just give up. They just say, okay, it is the way it is. It's like, think of it like a gel, but it's not real. It's a fictional gel in a jail in our head. We think it's real because that's what last year was. That's what the year before was. So we think somehow we can't get out of it. So my recommendation is drop one plan, see what happens. Pick the one where you're getting paid the least. Hopefully pick a small one so it doesn't cause too much disruption, and do the math. Find out how much money you were making or losing on every patient from that plan. Like, look at what your usual and customary fee was, how much you're actually getting paid. Is it worth it? When you do all the math, once you add all your employee cost, your rent and everything else, is it worth it? If not, the answer is so obvious. And this one particular doctor that I had, she didn't have any master plan. She was working 4 days a week. This is, 2013, before she started with me, and making $650 a year, and working, and she was all on every PPO plan under the sun. And then she started doing our marketing, and we were driving 30 new patients for every month. And she didn't want to work more than 4 days. So what she did is she took the worst plan. What? Nothing happened. Her collections, instead of being, annual run rate of 650 a year, went up to 700, 750, 800. Eventually, it went up to $1.3 million.
Wow.
And you know what? She dropped all the plans, and she realized she could make that revenue in 3 days a week. So instead of working 4 days a week, she went to 3 days a week, and she's making double the money. So the point is, if you really start looking at math, and really start looking at, is it worth it? The answers become very obvious. So instead of trying to be busy, just trying to ask the question, is it worth it? Should I do this work or should I not? And then your answers become easy. And like I said, don't try to drop everything at once. Start with one plan and then build on it and build on it.
Yeah, no, I agree. You don't want to scare away your team members and your patients by doing too much, right? When it comes to going out of network, you gotta do it methodically. So we'll just quickly go over this next question here, Naren, in terms of the consequences. What are some of the consequences and challenges that heavy PPO dependent practices face. And you mentioned one thing, which is that kind of stood out to me, is the lack of the ability to reinvest into the practice, right? To grow it in a way like that doctor example that you mentioned, going from 4 days to 3 days a week. I imagine that probably changed the lifestyle of that doctor, right? Having a few extra days there to do whatever, for me, it's spend time with my family. Can you briefly talk about what are other challenges that practices face, PPO practices that are taking these really big hits on those write-offs?
Yeah, so I'll take that as an example as a starting point. You're absolutely right. She was making 1.3 now instead of 650. And she could easily do 3 days worth of dentistry with the team she already had because she's doing less work now, right? So what does it mean? So the extra money, the extra 650, at least 70% of it was pure profit, right?
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So what are the consequences? One, you are making far less than you need to make as a PPO practice, you meaning the doctor owner. Second consequence, in that example, she ended up actually giving them an increment even though they were working 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Why? She had an extra, $650,000 a year that she could afford to do things with. So now they're making 10% more than they used to, and they're only working 3 days. What do you think happened to her loyalty? What do you think happened
Holy
to
smokes.
the excitement and like, the happiness of these people, right? You're telling me I work 3-day weeks and I make more than what I used to make. Yep. Like they no longer like, wanted this job. They really wanted to keep this job. They're like
Yes.
fighting for this job. They wanted to be the best they can be. Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's the other thing that the consequences, a practice that is, running on very thin margins doesn't have money to invest in the future. They don't have money to invest in technology. They don't have, even some cases, money to invest in just carpets and basic things, just creating that ambience, right? So you end up only attracting people who are bottom feeders. Like, I'll only do it if it's covered by insurance patients versus those patients who want to do a $10,000 case, a $20,000 case. They want beautiful smiles. And the consequences, because you're so busy just pedaling fast and doing double the work, you don't have time to take CE. You don't have time to learn. You don't have time. And also the other consequences, you get so sick of people asking you, is it covered by insurance? You stop trying to, share ideal dentistry. So you don't even get that fulfillment. Like, I went to school to change people's life, make people healthier. What? No point even trying, because the only question is it covered by insurance? So you just give up. Your team gives up. So there are many consequences of this kind of a practice versus, a practice that works a lot less hours, invests in technology, invests in education. Another huge consequence is the amount of time you spend with patients. Even though she ended up making $1.3 million, her patient count actually went down. So it went down like by 15%. Now she's spending more time with people. She's like saying hello. She remembers who their aunt, who their grandma who is, living with them is, and she asks about them. They write notes. It becomes a relationship-driven practice. Now there's a purpose and a meaning for every person in their office, the doctor, the team members. They feel like they're making a difference in the lives of all these individuals, as opposed to, well, it's not covered by insurance. So they become, imagine you go to a restaurant and you tell the person in the restaurant, I'll only eat if it's free. If you're working in that restaurant, do you want to work in that restaurant? Which means what you're doing is worthless. Right. Your cooking is worthless. Your effort is worthless. You are worthless to me. How does that feel when a patient keeps telling you, I'll take it if it's free? I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, in what part of in lives where we get free things other than air, nothing is free, right? I mean, you go on public transport, that's not free, even though it's, government funded or whatever you want to call it. Everything you pay money. Why? There's a value to it. As opposed to PPO dentistry, it's free. So, like, I mean, it changes everything. I think the consequences are immense. And I only see it when people start dropping these plans and their behavior changes. They start investing in technology. They start investing in their office. They start paying their people better. All these things start happening one by one by one.
Yeah, no, I love that, Naren. I had a call on Friday with a client, and he's in the process of going out of network with just about every dental plan. And Delta's next on the list. And he called and was like, I'm just freaking out about going out of network with Delta. things are slow. But interestingly, when you look at historical numbers, practices that go out of network, even doing slow seasons, they do just fine. In fact, they do so much better financially compared to being in network. It's just that extra level of commitment to get there, right? To just be brave and be bold, talk to other colleagues that have been through it, and almost every situation is positive, right? So last question, Naren, is
One
oh
comment
yeah, yeah.
to
Go
what you
ahead. Go
said,
ahead.
right? And there's no rules here, right? You could keep one plan if you want to
Yeah,
keep one plan. You
for
could keep two
sure.
plans. But the
Mhm.
point is, get rid of your worst, right? It's about the 80-20 rule. Doesn't mean you have to go all the way in. Even if you go 90% of the way in, you're still so much better off than you would be
Mm.
otherwise. So so I guess what I'm trying to say is, um, there's no one solution for everyone. You have to come up with your own solution, like how far you take it. But definitely, like dropping the worst ones as a starting point, I would argue every single one of you should do it.
Yeah, I 100% agree and support that. In looking at the cost of being in network, and in my mind, when I think about some of the more effective, cost-effective ways to do marketing, right? Replacing being in network with a different marketing strategy, right? And SEO just pops out in my mind. It's the lowest cost way to get new patients. The cost, the cents on the dollar with SEO compared to PPO, night and day difference in terms of savings, right? Or earnings for the practice. Naren, I consider you the foremost expert when it comes to SEO, especially in the world of dentistry. Can you speak a little bit more about how that is, like why that is? Why is SEO so much more effective than being in network from a cost perspective?
Absolutely. So when we look at a cost of a new patient from SEO, you're looking at, let's say, $50, $60 a patient. Over time, that number will drop even further, right? Because SEO gets better year after year. So, maybe it'll go down to, $10 less and so forth. So imagine, a patient is costing you $50, right? Versus, and it's a one-time fee, not a every time that patient comes back, you keep paying that $50. It's a one-time fee versus a PPO plan. A patient spends $1,000 with you a year times 10 years, they stay with you for 10 years, and you're giving $400, in the form of write-offs every year for 10 years, $4,000.
Mhm.
So one patient costs you $4,000, that's a PPO patient. The other patient costs you $50. I mean, divide 4,000 by 50. If you're going to spend $1 on SEO to get the same patient, you have to spend $80 with PPO. This is
Mhm.
not, 10% more or 20% more or even double. It's 80 times more expensive. And
Wow.
the problem is nobody sits and does this simple math. And this is kind
Mhm.
of funny. If you look at the world's richest people, one of the simple skills they all have is basic algebra, not algebra, basic arithmetic.
Mhm.
Just this kind of math. Okay, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know if I can buy milk for $1 versus $80, I'm going to buy the $1 milk if it's the exact same milk. Actually, the $1 milk is better because the patients who are not coming through to you through PPO plans are not asking the question, is it covered by PPO plans,
Mhm.
right? So they're not like demeaning you and saying, if it's free, I'll take it. If it's not free, I don't want your lunch. Like it's like saying your stuff is worthless. Why did you go to dental school? Why did you get all this extra training if the only thing they want is free stuff you can do for them?
Right, right. No, I love it, Naren. I think this episode here, in terms of comparing being in network to doing more effective marketing, it just screams out in my mind that this is a wonderful direction for doctors to take. So what I want to do for our listeners, especially the new listeners that may have not heard another episode that are on listening to this today, is if you want to see how well you are doing with regards to your own SEO or Google SEO efforts, the big question is, well, where can I do like a test or an assessment? Well, we have a solution. If you check out insuranceuntangled.com/MSM, that stands for Marketing Strategy Meeting. Naren's team can most certainly offer you a complimentary assessment there, just to do like a health check on your marketing plan strategy, especially with your SEO. Naren, for our new listeners, can you briefly explain what that marketing strategy meeting is designed to achieve?
Absolutely. So marketing strategy meeting is all about finding out how well you're doing with marketing, right? You are already doing PPO and it costs, 80 times more than SEO, right? Because you're paying a fee every time that patient comes in. So 80 times more, right? So what do you have to lose to find out how do you, master the marketing strategy that's going to be so less expensive compared to PPO, compared to Google Ads, compared to everything else. So what we do is we kind of give you a report card on like how well you're doing and why you are doing the way you are doing, right? Okay, you didn't get into dental school, but here is the reasons why. You didn't get a good, GPA, you didn't get this, this, and this. Now, if you can work on these and improve these, maybe your interview was not that great. Maybe next time you might have a better chance. So it's kind of like that feedback you get. So, so take advantage of this marketing strategy meeting, insuranceuntangled.com/MSM. Find out how well you are doing or how well you could do. And then, once what you can do, then take action, whether it's with us or somebody else, implement that plan. Because why keep spending so much money on PPO write-offs year after year after year after year after year? Why not cut it short? Why not give yourself some power so you don't have to be beholden to these PPO plans?
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement here. Everything that I know about the numbers in the PPO world, what Naren is talking about is the truth. So lots of options there. Check out insuranceuntangled.com/MSM if you want to take advantage of that particular marketing strategy meeting as an offer for any of the listeners. Naren, it's been so wonderful hearing from you again today. Of course, lots of great new things that I learn every single time that we chat about this. So really appreciate you and the knowledge and expertise that you have in this area. To our listeners, thank you again for joining us today, again, for another episode on the Insurance Untangled podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to share this with your friends on social media. We also appreciate reviews. That sort of helps other potential listeners find our content online. Again, check out insuranceuntangled.com for future webinars that we hold quarterly, as well as other freebies, content, articles that we'll probably be publishing here soon, and all the other wonderful things about how to untangle yourself from insurance. Until we meet again, we wish you the best of success.